Escapism was a method of torture by which the victim was stripped naked, then placed in a wooden box with 5 holes to remove the head, hands, and feet. All these parts of the body were smeared with milk and honey to attract flies and other insects. The victim was fed milk and honey and sometimes spoiled several times a day, which caused diarrhea and attracted more insects, which fed on the feces, leaving eggs for the victim. Escapism was practiced in the ancient age in the Persian Empire. In addition to smearing the victim's face and limbs with honey, they exposed him to the sun. The sugar mixture, the sun exposure, and the feces inside the drawer due to the diarrhea caused by the food generated the presence of flies and insects that bit and infect the victim. By the end, the larvae ate the body from within until it died.
In the Persian culture, torture was common as a penalty imposed on prisoners. High-ranking inmates suffered the torture of hash. A tall, empty tower was filled with hash up to a certain height, and the offender was thrown head first into it. A wheel-like machine constantly extracted of hash around the prisoner until he suffocated. In some towns in Persian, the prisoner was tied by arms and legs to the highest branch of two ancient trees. The branches, when released violently, destroyed the body of the commandant.
The Immortals or Mellophoros were an elite Persian regiment of the royal guard who fought in the medical wars. The name Immortals comes from Herodotus, who called them the 10,000 or Athanatoi. The term also referred to his strategy in which if one soldier fell, another would replace him, giving the illusion that they couldn't die. Herodotus mentions that the Immortals were a troop of heavy infantry commanded by Hydarnes that always kept the number of 10,000 men. Each dead, wounded, or seriously ill member was immediately replaced by another, which is why apparently they never died.
The Cyrus Cylinder is a cylindrical piece of clay containing an Akkadian Babylonian cuneiform statement of the Persian king Cyrus the Great. In it, the new king legitimizes his conquest and takes political measures to win the favor of his subjects. It dates from the 6th century before Christ and was discovered in the ruins of Babylon in Mesopotamia. The clay cylinder excavated in 1879 bears an inscription celebrating the conquest of Babylon by Cyrus the Great in 539 before Christ, which reads in part something like this: My vast troops marched peacefully into Babylon. I saw the welfare of the city of Babylon and all her sanctuaries. As for the population of Babylon, who without divine intention had borne a yoke no decree for them, I relieved their weariness, I released them from their bondage.
The Battle of Pelusio was fought in 525 AC at the gates of Pelusius in Lower Egypt, the force of the Persian king Cambyses II, who defeated those pharaoh Psametics III. This battle was decisive so that the Persian could seize the throne of Egypt. Pelusio was an ancient city in Lower Egypt, located on the northern of the Nile Delta and on the easternmost mouth of the Nile. It was the most important city in the east of Lower Egypt, and it was 30 kilometers southeast of the present Port Said. Semitic reasons had thought that Egypt could withstand the Persian attack, thanks to the alliance of the Greeks. But they hoped they didn't come fruit, as Cypriots people and the tyrant Polycrates of Samos, who had the large fleet, had changed their mind and had no allied themselves to the Persians. Polycrates sent 40 trims to the Persians, rallying to the crew to be excused by Cambyses. But when they were halfway, that the crew guessed their intentions and returned to the port.